You are live with Get Connected. Mike Agerbo here with John Beeler. Got an awesome program today. Later on, we'll be talking with our good friend Victor Lucas from the Electric Playground, and the future of video graphics, video game graphics, computer graphics. Intel is getting into the fray up against some of the other big players, NVIDIA and AMD. And even if you're not a big video game nerd, it's a very interesting topic and segment that we've got coming up, just kind of detailing what the future is for some of the things that we're seeing. Video processing units, graphics cards are in all our screens, whether it's a phone, a TV, or computer. And with Intel getting into the game, it might change the way we get some of the content that we're looking at now. And we'll also be talking with our own Stephen Fung. He's one of our Get Connected producers and contributors about his experience with his Chevy Bolt. As you might have heard, Chevy or GM has basically recalled all of the Chevy Bolt electric vehicles because of battery issues. These cars potentially catching on fire. Well, he has one, and he'll tell us what that was all about. But John, let's get into some of the tech news now. One of the interesting things that I came across this week, and you probably have seen this as well, is Elon Musk. He tweeted out his vision for a Tesla bot, a Tesla humanoid robot that he wants to develop.
Yeah.
Did you watch the video?
Parts of it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's no prototype or anything like that yet. As we know, Elon Musk is a big visionary. His things don't always come out on time, but he has given the world a few great products and companies, including SpaceX and Tesla. Do you think he can make inroads with a Tesla bot?
Well, I think if anyone can, he probably can. The question is, who is it aimed at? Who is it, like... The whole idea behind this is that it's meant to do some of the menial tasks that humans don't want to do. And
dangerous tasks.
Yeah.
So manual labor, working with hazardous goods and materials, lifting. He says, from what I understand, that it would be about 125 pounds, about 5 foot 8 inches in height. If we're worried about them taking over, he says that we could easily overpower them. But if these things can lift heavy things and work with hazardous materials, I'm pretty sure that they could go after our frail human bodies.
Well, yeah, and we all saw Westworld.
So, for the listeners out there, we're nowhere close to the robots taking over, just in case you're worried. I mean, there's so many things that have to be worked out. Everything from, the actual movement, the mechanics of the robots, and then just the artificial intelligence needed to actually work these things as well.
Yeah, but we've seen some pretty dramatic examples. I think everyone's seen the videos of Boston Dynamics and their robo-dogs and the robots that do the parkour. I think we're getting close. They don't look like a humanoid.
No.
They look more like robot leftover parts from Star Wars.
Yes.
But it's not a big stretch to see how they could integrate that tech into a more humanoid shape.
And I wonder, is the humanoid shape the most efficient shape for manual labor? Because, I look at a factory or a warehouse, and having these little robot people walk around and do things might not be as efficient as something that's purpose-built. You've seen the little drone, I don't know what they call them, cars in the Amazon warehouses,
yeah,
or carts that just kind of zoom around.
Yeah.
That'd have to be a pretty spry humanoid robot to run around.
Well, and I think also the humanoid shape might be a little disconcerting for some people too. If you see this thing looming in the background,
yeah,
with no head or no eyes or some other missing feature that you would expect from a human, versus a robot that looks like a forklift with, other things going on.
OnlyFans website has been in the news this past couple of weeks. They announced, I think was it last week, that they were moving away from any type of pornography on their site. And for the listeners that don't know what OnlyFans is, this is a site where you can create your own channel and basically have people pay a subscription fee to get exclusive content from you.
Yeah, and arguably you could say that a majority of the content there is of an intimate nature. One of the things that they got famous for is because during lockdown, a lot of adult entertainers couldn't do their thing in public, like in a club or something like that. So they started using webcams in their bedrooms, and that's what this platform was built on the backs of these people.
Well, they announced, I think about a week or two ago, that they would be banning pornography from their website because their payment partners, the MasterCards, the Visas, the banks that issue these, were not on board with them anymore having this type of content.
Yeah, and it's a tricky situation. Anytime there's any kind of, I don't want to say questionable content, but any type of content that some people might take as offensive.
Like Pornhub, for example, Visa and MasterCard basically told them that they wouldn't accept any payments anymore because they had a lot of bad content on there, like non-consensual porn, that type of thing.
But do you think that's the reason, or do you think it was because maybe a spouse found out that their better half was using those services and they had to reverse all the credit card charges or something like that? So
I think there's a lot of money
no,
in porn. You know what I mean?
There's no question.
I think for all the reversals, they're still making billions of dollars off it. So I don't know what happened here with OnlyFans, but they have since come back and said they're not banning it anymore.
Yeah, because the entire platform yelled and screamed at them, and the whole internet lit up about it too. Because that's kind of like,
it would essentially kill their whole business model.
Well, it'd be like McDonald's stopping to sell hamburgers.
Yeah. Let's move on to another news story. Rogers here in Canada is mandating that all of their employees are to be vaccinated, fully vaccinated. So we're seeing a bunch of tech companies go this route now.
It's an interesting time.
Yeah. I'm pro-vaccination.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of anti-vaxxers or people that still question the safety. I think the science has been pretty clear that vaccinations are a good thing, especially to protect the vulnerable. It saves lives. There's no question. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all fares. I mean, for me, the government hasn't been fully transparent and enough information to employers about the legalities of enforcing something like that.
Well, and it seems to be one of those push and pull things where the federal government's been pushing it down to the provincial government and the provincial health authorities. So depending on where you live, it might also impact your employment abilities with these types of rules.
Well, we'll keep on top of that and see how that goes for Rogers and some of these other tech companies. We are going to have to take a break here on Get Connected. Don't forget to enter our contest giving away Kingston Technology RAM or memory prize packs. You get 64 gigabytes of memory for your desktop computer. Speeds it up. Or if you're building a new PC, this is the prize pack to get. Go to our website, getconnectedmedia.com. This is the last week. Back after this. You are back with Get Connected. Mike Agerbo here with John Beeler. Still lots to talk about on today's program. We'll be chatting with Victor Lucas later about video graphics and how that world is going to change now that Intel is getting into the market. Now, though, we want to talk about batteries, and specifically batteries in electric vehicles. You might have heard the news in the past few weeks. Chevrolet has recalled all of the Chevy Bolt electric vehicles, not just for 2 years, but every one that has ever been made. We've got one of our contributors, Stephen Fung, in the studio. And Stephen, I wanted to bring you in because you had a Chevy Bolt.
That's right, I did. I bought it used about 2 years ago.
Yeah. What year was it? 2017?
It was the first year that it came out in BC. It was like literally the compliance vehicle to get the rebates because I looked at the spec sheet. Oh man, this thing is like bone stock. So I was very happy with it. 2 years, no gas, no service, no maintenance, just washer fluid and wiper blades and car washes.
And electricity.
And electricity, which we are blessed with, lots of cheap options here.
So over the past year, there have been some troubling incidents with the Chevy Bolts, some of them catching fire, which led to Chevy basically saying, don't charge your car inside overnight in your garage.
Yeah, it was actually it's pretty extensive. What they asked us to do initially was they asked us to do what's called Hilltop Reserve, which was basically limiting our battery to a charge of 90%. And then also asking us, again, in this new recall, to not park in our garage, don't park near our house, and also do not go below 113 kilometers, which means that your effective range has become now about 250 250, 300 kilometers at most.
Yeah. How did you feel about that?
I was kind of terrified, actually. I heard that the recall was not working, and I had just recently taken a boot out to the interior when they had the hottest day of year on record across Canada, and I was charging at Boston Bar, and when I got out of the car, it was like the airlock coming out. It was like basically the DeLorean when you open the going door. There's this puff of steam.
Yeah,
it felt like that. So I really went out and I tried to make sure that this was safe, and then I hear that something else was happening.
Well, one of the things you remember you telling me is that they specifically said, like, when you're charging it, if it detects a problem, it's going to play all the horns and sirens and stuff in your car to alert you to this problem.
That's right.
And I thought that was kind of like, well, that's kind of too late.
Well, you know what's funny
your
about
car's
that?
on fire, run.
It's basically, actually, you know what? You're bang on. What I've heard from a number of people is that by the time that horn is going off, you roll it out of your garage if it's there, and you basically hose it off, and you call the fire department. It's already in a thermal runaway event. So what basically happens is that inside the battery, the system's detected that there's some sort of arc and a drop in voltage, but by the time that spark has happened, it's already affected other batteries within that area. And keep in mind, these are packed right in there.
So let's explain that to the listeners. When you think of a battery in an electric vehicle, it's just not one solid piece. It's actually made up of a number of smaller batteries or cells.
Yeah, like basically if you take a bag and you filled it up with AA batteries and you put an electrolyte solution inside and then you use wires to wire every single one up, you would have not just one of those, but multiple packs that make up a battery pack. And to imagine that close proximity with one of those bags going off, it's going to set off all of them. There's just no way that they can predict that.
And so the information we've seen as to why this is a problem was that it sounds like there might have been a robot in the factory that made it that was misaligned, and basically there's this tab, a torn anode tab, which is basically the wiring that you talked about, and folded separator. So it actually was causing this little bit of an arc on some batteries that I guess they did a forensic analysis of. And so the problem could be extensive, and it's one of those things you can't tell until you open it all up to find out if your car could have been the problem or if yours would have been fine.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you think about, now that we know that it's some sort of a mechanism or a robot, and, you know, I'm glad they found it because now new batteries will not have that same issue.
That robot's fired?
That robot is definitely fired. It's probably in the junk heap right now. But knowing that a robot caused that issue, and, you know, as much as we want to kind of, you know, make GM the bad guy, they didn't know. LG didn't know. And
LG's the maker of the battery.
LG Chem.
Yeah.
Now, they're not the same as the TV and the phone people that, you know, rest in peace to the phone people. They're not the same people. They're basically a division of LG. So this division was basically, it was their issue to solve, and they found out what happened, maybe a little bit too late, because this recall actually affects another Korean car maker, Hyundai. So they were the first to recognize that there's something wrong, and they recalled all their batteries immediately. GM kind of had not only that separator issue, which is basically the lamination where the robot was misaligned. They also had a torn anode, like John was saying, which is like the perfect storm of the two things. Like typically when you have a folded tab, it's fine in the bag of electrolyte and everything. Nothing's going to happen. But the torn tab, it's basically caused kind of an internal short because the two things can't be in the same. Like it's the perfect storm.
So, you know, electric vehicles are just starting to take off now. How do you feel about electric vehicles now as far as the overall safety of them?
I think this was looking at the big picture. Like, we have to realize that there's the emotional part, and then there's the objective kind of scientific thing, what happened, right? This was a machine that was misaligned in the factory that they just found out that was turning out thousands, hundreds of thousands of batteries. It affected a very long time span of vehicles, right? Unfortunately, right? But moving forward, they now know that this is something that can't happen again, and they're making a whole bunch of things, a whole bunch of different procedures to stop this. In fact, LG and GM are coming out with the next generation of batteries called Ultium, which is more like a packable, kind of squishable type of battery, which would have, in this case, I believe that almost all these issues would not be there.
Well, I liken this issue to, remember the Samsung Note 7?
Yes. Yeah.
That was a popular smartphone from Samsung that had a tendency to catch fire. And so they had to recall all of them. That entire line, that Note 7's gone from history now. But they fixed it, and we're still using smartphones.
Yeah.
So I'm just concerned, some people will hear this story. And of course, it's a huge concern, right? Because you're sitting on top of these flammable batteries. If they're not put together properly, can burn your house down.
Yeah, like there's 122,000 potential thermal runaway events that could happen. But in this case, GM has taken an abundance of caution to not only recall the ones that were most affected by percentage, but they've taken upon themselves to recall all of the vehicles all the way up until the ones that are just rolling off the assembly line, just to make sure that customers are going to be good to go. Because remember, GM is banking on everything being electric. They are pushing Generation E, and I may have been affected by this recall. Again, I feel that they have made the right choice, and I'm not that upset in the big scheme of things. I did have to move off the platform mainly because of like my family. They're back there. No one knew anything at the time, so I made that choice a couple months ago. But now that we
would you go back to GM down the road?
Would I go back to GM? I think that in this case, knowing what I know, I would probably give them a second chance, mainly because there was just so much more information there.
Yeah.
And they've shared the responsibility. The letter that they sent out was, it was good.
Yeah.
They addressed the issue. They told us what was going to happen. It might take
Were they transparent and fast enough on that, do you think?
Based on the fact that they have so many tentacles, like they're a huge manufacturer.
Yeah.
To do the investigation and everything, I think they did it pretty quickly. It's less than a year until they went from issue to solution.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Been talking with Stephen Fung. He's one of our Get Connected contributors about his experience with the Chevy Bolt. And again, if you've got one of these cars, they have been recalled by GM, so contact your dealership for more information. When we come back from the break, we'll be talking with our good friend Victor Lucas about the future of graphics and graphic cards. Will we have video game consoles in the future, or will they just be built into our phones and our TV screens? Back after this. You're back with the program. Mike and John here. Don't forget to enter our contest, giving away a Kingston Memory prize pack. 3 of them. If you're looking to build your own PC or want to up the speed of your existing one, and again, desktop PCs, we're giving away 3 of these packs worth $300. 64 gigabytes of RAM that light up.
Yeah, they have RGB lighting in them.
Yeah, so you'll have to get a clear case to really show it off. Let's continue talking about computers and specifically video cards and video card chipsets, graphics. We've got our great friend Victor Lucas on the line to talk about a recent announcement from Intel getting into the video graphics space. Thanks for joining us, Victor.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love coming on the show with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Always great to have you. So when you look at a laptop or a video game console, desktop PCs, when you see the graphics come up on the screen, whatever screen you have, that's typically being powered by a video graphic chipset. One of the big leaders out there in the world right now would be NVIDIA. AMD is another one, I guess formerly ATI back in the day, Canadian company.
Yeah.
Intel now is jumping into the game as well. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's kind of inevitable. I think what NVIDIA specifically has been doing has just been, they've just been a lion in the marketplace. And AMD has been no slouch either. I mean, they've been working with a lot of the console manufacturers as well and finding all kinds of different ways to kind of grow their business. Visuals in computers and in game consoles, devices in general have become increasingly more important. And there is this cachet, this allure of having the most powerful graphics cards out there. We saw the rampant shortages that NVIDIA has had with their 30 line over the last year. A lot of scalpers have been getting into the market and reselling these things at very exorbitant prices.
Whoever thought that would happen? It's crazy what happened with all that.
Well, gamers are a huge population, and people are so articulate in the game space. And primarily that's what we're talking about here is video game fans are wanting the best ways to consume their content and the most visually amazing ways to consume their content. And we've seen some incredible technologies like ray tracing and AI powered super sampling, like what NVIDIA is offering with their DLSS technology. And AMD has got something to kind of counter that. But the other thing that's happened too is Apple has moved away from their partnership with Intel, and they are starting to make their own chips for their machines, which so far haven't really been graphic showpieces or showcases, but it has kind of taken away some, and I don't know if this is all interrelated, but I would have to think that, where a door closes, a new one opens. And so Apple is now making its own chips, their M1 chips, and wherever they're going to go from there. And so Intel has probably, been learning a lot through their OEM partnerships with both AMD and with NVIDIA, packaging their cards, their CPUs with those GPUs. They also have been doing integrated graphics for a long time. Intel has for lower end PCs and laptops. And so they've been taking all of those lessons and all those learnings, plus their own scientific advancement internally. Like these are one of the biggest chip manufacturers on the planet. And they've said, well, we can enter this space. And that's exactly what they're doing. So they're going to have a competitor to the high end stuff that NVIDIA and AMD has been making and has been making for a long time next year. And so we don't know what the performance is going to be like, but it's going to be good for consumers to have that choice.
Well, it is a challenge right now with anything video card related, especially with the big chip shortages happening throughout the industry. On top of that, all these Bitcoin mining computers and farms that need these high-powered graphics cards. No one can keep these things in stock. They're going for thousands of dollars. Do you think Intel will be able to get a supply or make a supply? And how much of a dent will they make in this market?
That's yet to be seen. And I think it's going to be performance related. I mean, people, especially when you're talking about AI embellishments for your visuals, you want something that is not incredibly crazy in terms of the power requirements, but the output has to kind of satisfy everybody's desire out there. And plus, it has to be reliable technology. It has to compare with what these vanguards in the business have been putting out there for a long time. And the cryptocurrency kind of, market out there. And that's a very good point, Mike. I think that there has been a lot of consumption of these cards to kind of satisfy the crypto craze that's out there for sure. And the gaming audience is just growing larger and larger, and even free to play stuff is incredibly robust right now. Like if you're playing Genshin Impact or something like that, and you can turn all the widgets on and it just looks insane. It looks beautiful. And that stuff is just getting better and better looking. We're getting into Unreal Engine 5 visuals pretty soon. And so people are going to want this incredible horsepower. Intel has access to their own silicon and their own pipelines and their own sort of manufacturing processes. I think that this is very interesting, and it's a way for them to kind of transition a whole new customer base, which they don't currently have. And this could be very, very good for Intel if they can pull it off.
Yeah, I think a lot of things have to go right because NVIDIA and AMD, they spend a lot of time working with like game developers and console makers.
Yes.
So it's this synergy that has to happen. It's fair to say Intel's been working with the same people in a lot of ways, but in a different angle and a different trajectory because they're trying to make the RAM better or the CPU processor better, but not necessarily the visuals better. So it's a whole other sort of division of Intel that's going to have to start coming to those meetings.
I just wonder how
they're not really known as the hype, video game brand, right? I mean, it's the dependable brand. It's the horsepower brand. And if you get a processor from Intel, that's going to deliver the CPU cycles that are going to make your games sing, you're happy with that. But you're not really like, oh my God, Intel is the gaming brand that we all know in quite the same fashion that NVIDIA has kind of carved out for itself, and AMD has really challenged as well. NVIDIA's, I think, sitting pretty high on the mountain right now. But because that absence, that space that Intel has kind of recognized is a real opportunity for them as well. And also NVIDIA has had a lot of customers, very unhappy with the lack of availability of their products this year, So yeah, it's a real opportunity for Intel.
I just wonder if they have a chance to be successful. I mean, they're going up against two big guys that have been in the market forever, AMD and NVIDIA. And when I look at the tech space in general, it always ends up coming down to two, doesn't it? Windows, Mac, iPhone, Android. Eventually the others fall off or they get bought up. I don't know who Intel could buy out of NVIDIA or AMD. I think there'd be too much of a, anti-competitive aspect to that. But they're going to have to invest a lot of money to make this happen. And, what is their appetite to see this through till the end?
Well, I think the writing is on the wall in terms of how important visuals are going to be for computing power going forward. I mean, we're looking at an AR future. We're looking at every device in our home have some kind of screen connection or screen technology connection. We're going to be, not just in jumping into increasingly more advanced game environments, but I think I can see a future where Google Maps is just so hyper detailed. You're going to be able to enter buildings, and everything is going to have to be realized in a visual fidelity that we can go right down into the granular detail. And so we're going to need incredibly powerful visual, applications and hardware that's going to be able to get us there. And we're not going backwards with that, and I think Intel sees a real opportunity there. And, the history of graphic cards is, yes, littered with a lot of, dead bodies and companies that didn't do so well. But this business is also, this sort of technology business is also sort of pushed forward by risk taking and by people saying, look, we can try this and we'll see where it goes.
We're talking with Victor Lucas all about video graphics processors and video cards and how it's going to change the future with Intel getting into the game as well. Victor, I'm going to get you to hang on the line because I want to then throw the cloud into this and how that might change everything. When we come back from the break, more with Victor Lucas. Stay tuned. You are back with Get Connected. Mike Agerbo here with John Beeler. Don't forget to enter our Kingston Technology RAM giveaway. We're giving away some RAM packs. These are worth $300 each, and also a bunch of Kingston swag, hats, t-shirts, you name it. Again, if you want more information, go to our website, getconnectedmedia.com, and we've got the contest page up there. We've been talking about video cards, and I know for some people, like, who cares? But video graphics processors are in almost everything when it comes to displaying any type of content now, especially when it comes to video game consoles, computers, laptops, even our phones as well. Intel is getting into the game, going against two of the other big players in the market, NVIDIA and also AMD. So, Victor, the cloud. Will it even matter 10 years from now when none of the processing is going to happen on the devices that we have? Because the connections will be so good to my phone. The video game console is actually just built into the TV now, and everything's going to be streamed from servers directly to the screen itself. And the unit, the TV, or the phone won't even have to have that much computing power.
That's an interesting question, and I believe that we are entering an arms race with that. And I think that the cloud is going to get better and better. And then the companies that are directly served by business to consumer sales are going to combat that. And they are going to find an appreciable difference that they can market back to consumers. I always think about the TV manufacturers thinking about the idea of VR supplanting the need for large screen televisions. And I don't think any of those TV manufacturers would just give that up. They would find a way to make bigger and better screens, even as VR technology continues to improve and improve and improve. And the other thing to consider too, as we enter cloud streaming for all kinds of content, we're already seeing huge advancements in that, is that those machines that serve up that content are PCs. They're just PCs on the other end. And as the cloud client base grows, as people that need more access points to the cloud, so too will those companies need computers with incredible graphics power that can serve up that content, even if it's just being streamed.
But that's a different game, though, right? It's not a direct to consumer play anymore. You're not selling video cards to consumers. You're selling video graphics.
No, it's not one-to-one.
No,
but you are still having to output a, even if it's server side, even if it's like it's many instances off of specific servers, you're still having to output beautiful, beautiful visuals. And somewhere in that pipeline is graphics technology. It isn't all just graphics cards technology. It isn't all just CPU process stuff. And in the development of that stuff as well, right? Like there is, a huge amount of graphics processing needed on the manufacturer of content like that in real time as well. And each one of those developers is a seat. So yeah, it's going to change, and we are certainly going to have. Maybe what we're going to see is that the change that's happened with the lack of interest in Blu-ray and DVD comparative to people just being able to, stream stuff. And I am one of those collectors. You guys can see it in my background here on Zoom, but I love to collect that stuff.
Yeah, your garage is a fever dream of Batman figurines and old video game consoles, which
yes,
I love.
And a huge Blu-ray collection and a DVD collection. But, even me who has collected that stuff, I've slowed down a lot on all of that because of Disney Plus and Netflix and all of these streaming services. And so maybe we will enter this era where the convenience outweighs the experience.
But you look at Sony
experience.
Yeah, but you look at Sony and Xbox, they're coming out with cloud-based video game streaming, right?
Yes.
So I see in the next 5 years, TV manufacturers just building these high-end graphics processors or cards directly into the TVs to handle it.
That is absolutely going to happen.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
You won't need a Sony PlayStation anymore.
Yeah, but still, for at least another 10 or 15 years, I believe there will be heavy competition on the part, because they can still sell. They can still say, well, it's marginally better over here. Yes, you can get your 1080p 60 frames per second DLS cloud experience, but you can crank it to 4K and or 8K at 120 frames per second if you buy this graphics card.
Been talking with Victor Lucas all about the future of video game processing, with Intel getting in with their new Intel Arc into the market. Victor, where can people find out more information about all the things you're up to?
Well, I talk to all kinds of people across video games, entertainment, and technology on the Electric Playground, and you can watch video content. And then we're in a bunch of other places, but the main place that we are is on YouTube at youtube.com/EPNTV. Thanks
for joining us, Victor.
Thank you, you guys. Talk to you soon.
When we come back from the break, more Tech to Talk. Stay tuned. You were back with Get Connected. It's been a great show. Mike Agerbo here with John Beeler. Just want to give a shout out to the contest. It's the last week for our Kingston Technology Memory Prize Pack giveaway. Giving away 3 sets of memory for your computer. This is 64 gigabytes of RAM. This will definitely speed up a computer. And if you're building your own PC, this is the best RAM out in the market to get.
And it lights up. So if you're one of these PC builders that like to make gaming PCs, this is the type of memory that they dream of. We're also giving away a lot of Kingston swag as well, T-shirts and hats. So head to the contest page at getconnectedmedia.com and enter to win. For tomorrow's show, and that is Sunday across the Chorus Radio Network, Saturday nights in Toronto, the App Show has a great program as well. We're going to be talking about a new app that's augmented reality for your ears. Stories that you can listen to with your partner and actually act out in your home. It's really cool.
It is super cool. We'll also be talking with our friend Ted Kritsonos about an app that helps you make apps, even if you know nothing about programming. And we will also be talking safety. If you are someone that likes to go on hikes or backcountries, adventures, we've got an app called Overdue that will track you and also let loved ones know if you don't come back on time. I want to thank all the folks that helped put the show together. Of course, John Beeler, my co-host, Christina, and the rest of the folks back at the studio. We'll see you again next time.